Hey, hi, Maria. Now I came over here again to telling the any types of important and any types of small things, especially in front of you, and that you have to listen my any types of word and with the way of carefully and with the way attentively. But before moving ahead and before telling these kinds of things like so small and like so minor and petty things, I want to just recommend you only one thing that you have to hear with the way of carefully, and that things would be all about myself and would be all about my all activism and activity, especially when I will try to say like actually. Okay, and you know very well about myself, Amaria, and I'm very excited, and I know I always try to feel like so excited and like so imaginative for the speaking the any types of things, especially in English. Actually, I always try to feel as like that, because really when I will try to get some opportunities, when I will try to get some greatest occasion to making understand the all people like what is the greatest value of English, what is the greatest existence, and what is the greatest speciality about of the English, when I will try to say as like that actually. So it's a very greatest opportunities for me when I will try to get to making the all people understand, to making the all people like understand, to knowing something about it. And I will definitely try to expand a lots of revolutionary things about the English when I will try to get some opportunities. And really when I will when I will try to get these kinds of greatest opportunities. And if you want to know that like which kinds of things, I will try to tell something about English. So I will try to say like so imaginative things about the English. And and which kinds of things I will try to say, it's all depend on my thought process when I will try to get some opportunities so I can. But now here I want to tell something about my that moment where my teacher were presented in my class to attending our class, especially the English. And at a time my teacher have presented over here to telling the types of things. But before moving ahead, before initiating that class to tell you any types of things, my teacher was trying to 1 minute, excuse me. My teacher was trying to writing only one thing on the blackboard, like he was writing the only one thing like the greatest importance of English. He was trying to writing these kinds of word on that blackboard. And after that he was trying to knowing something with the all student and where I was sitting among the all student as well. And he was trying to asking a different kinds of question about the English. And firstly he was trying to making some student understand to knowing something with them, like would you please. No, 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 when I will try to say as like that, firstly my teacher was trying to making some students stand to knowing something with them. So my teacher stand up, my teacher said like would you please stand up, my dear my dear student. He was trying to say as like that, and then that student stood up to telling any kinds of things. So my teacher was trying to asking some question, and he was he was asking like would you please try to tell something about the English. And what is English. First of all you have to tell me like what is the English, and then you have to tell me like what is the greatest importance of English. So these kinds of question, and both are question my teacher was trying to asking from that student with the way of clarity. So at a time that student was thinking like which kinds of things we should try to tell of my teacher, and which kinds of things that we should try to tell of my teacher with the way positively and with the way of clarity. And from from that any types of responding of things my teacher would contain very well with my all answer. He was thinking as like that. But in the long run, in the end of the day, that student was not eligible to tell any types of in this weekend any types of positive things about the English and about the greatest importance of English. He was unable, he was not eligible, he was not eligible to tell any kinds of things about the English. And then my teacher was trying to tell him would you please take your seat. He was trying to say as like that, he was trying to saying as like that to making that student like sit on their place. and he was telling us like that, would you please try to sit your class. He was telling these kinds of things about a person's activism. And then he was trying to, making the all student understand, the making the all student like stand up for the knowing something, with the asking the different kinds of question about the English. And then even I will try to say something about my friend, very well, I have a friend as well, and my friend is so likable, when I will try to say as like that. And my teacher was trying to ask me the different kinds of cuisine from my friend, and she was sitting next to me, and he was trying to making her understand, he was trying to making her understand, this we can say stand up to knowing something, to asking some cuisine with her. And he was he was asking some cuisine with her, as like, would you please try to tell me miss whatever her name was, and whatever her name was, when I will try to say as like that. And he was asking like, would you please try to miss like what is the greatest importance of English, and what is the greatest in this we can say value of English, would you please try to tell something about it. But my friend was not eligible, when I will try to say as like that. There was there were no any types of persons, there were no any any kinds of persons, or was available over here to responding the any kinds of answer of my teacher with the web clarity. There were no any student who was eligible to do these kinds of things, responding them with the web clarity. And in the meantime, I was thinking like we should try to tell about it. We should try to tell like what is the greatest in this we can say importance of English, and what is the English in this we can say. I was thinking as like that, like we should try to tell something about my teacher, about these things like English to my teacher. I was thinking as like that. So if you want to know that, like if the greatest opportunities my teacher was getting me for the explaining the many types of important things about the English, so which kinds of things I would try to tell over there. And I would try to tell over there. I would I would try to tell over there. You are thinking as like that, am I right? So I want to tell like which kinds of things I would tell over there when I get some opportunities to telling the types of things about the English. So when I will try to say as like that, when I have got some opportunities from my teacher to telling to explaining the lots of things about the English, so I would say definitely like, my dear sir, if you want to know that like what is the greatest importance of English, and but firstly you have asking like you were asking like what is English. So sir, from my according, if you want to know that like what is the English, so very well, and there are lots of students who are present over here, and they're they are knowing very well like what is the English, because they have heard the like only one thing from the all people's mouth, from the all student mouth, like lots of things about the English, like English English is the international language, very well, and there are lots of students who are present over here, and they are knowing very well about it, like English is a international language, and you are know very well as well, when I will try to say as like that, like actually. But here from my according, I know very well English is an international language. English is a global language. I know very well. But from my according, English is the only one, things. And when I will try to say with the exotic, like English is the small window, and by dint of the help of these kinds of things, these kinds of language, that you can see all over the world, when I will try to say as like that. And very well, I hope very well about my telling process, like what is the greatest value, and what is the greatest specialty of English. Because very well, about English, like very well, the only one thing, like English is an international language. But from my according, English is a small window, and by dint of the English, and by dint of the help of in this weekends, by dint of the help of this language like English, you can see all over the world, you can see all over the world, and you can visit all over the world from my according, and from with this language like English from my according. And if you want to know that like what is the greatest specialty of English, so from my according, if you are if you are knowing very well about, if you are knowing very well like any kinds of points about English, and if you are going in any kinds of country, and any kinds of country, but at that at that place, like in country, there are there are lots of persons who are living in that country, but they don't know, they don't aware with your language. And when I will try to say as like that, like usually you always try to speak with the with only one thing like Hindi. But when you will try to visit the any kinds of like largest country, so at that time and at that place in any kinds of country, when you will try to speak Hindi, like especially your mother tongue like Hindi, so at a time there are no any kinds of persons would be available over here to understanding your word. But when you will try to utilize this word, utilize this language like English in front of all people, in front of all persons with clarity, then it would be greatest productive things would be still over there to understanding your all activity, to understanding your all telling process with clarity. There would be all persons would can there would be all persons would understand your all word, like when you will try to say the any kinds of things in English. So I hope you understood very well like what is the greatest value of English in all people's life. But second question, when I will try to say as like that, my teacher was asking with my friend like, can you tell me which person, who person needed, who person need and who person required this language like very well, whether that person's like who's living in the city, and when I will try to say like that, whether that person who's living in village, like whose person, and no, in this we can say, and whose person and who persons are so needed of this language like English. Can you think and can you thought about it? So at a time I should try to at a time when I try to get opportunities, I'm telling these kinds of things again and again, really it's a really fact matter. When I got opportunities to telling, to expressing a lot of things about it, like who persons are so needed of this language like English. So from my according I would say as like that. So from my according, the English language are so needed, are so needful. Both are people, whether that people living in country, in village, from my according. But when I will try to say the regarding of the one people that who is living in village, so it from my according, that people would so needful, would so needful this language like English, especially who's living, especially that people who's living in the in the village. Why I'm telling as like that? Because so very well, you have seen and you have observed like so largest condition of our village, of our village person, especially when I will try to say as like that, and they don't know the any types of greatest value of knowledge and knowledge and education, especially when I will try to say as like that, like about a lot of things about this language like English. They don't know about it. But from my according, if the any types of persons would raising on their own feet for the learning this language like English, and to expanding a greatest revolution of the English language like little by little, so definitely this village would become like so knowledgeable, would become like so educational village from my according. When the all people know very well about the English language, when the all people that who is living in our village very well, when the all people speak this language, this language like English, like the all people like little by little, so definitely this this village would be changed in a couple of week, in a couple of month. You may agree or not, if the all people would try to learn this language. And very well about the cities person, and when I will try to say as like that, the all persons of cities who's living in the cities, so they are definitely ahead, they are definitely ahead, they are already ahead from the village persons, because they know very well that what is the greatest our that is greatest value of our time, which that is the which kinds of things like the greatest value of our time and our, in this we can say, education and knowledge. They know very well about it, and that is why they always trying to keep moving ahead in any kinds of field. When I will try to say the any kinds of things about the cities person who's living in the city, but when I will try to say like so worse things about the village person, so they are so back from the cities person. So from my according, this language like English are so needful, is so needful the village person, that all village persons knowing, that the all village persons should trying to knowing, should try to know something about the English language. So from my according, this language is so needful of the village person from my according. That's all. So I hope you know very well, I hope you know very well about my telling process, like what is the greatest value of English, and what is the greatest existence of English, and what is the greatest specialities of English, and what is the English. I hope you know very well, I hope you know very well about my telling process. And my dear, yeah, but I was telling a lot of things about the English, but I didn't say the any kinds of like greatest like so small moment about my school, especially about this day. And I didn't say the any kinds of things like which kinds of things I have learned today. When I will try to say as like that, like which kinds of things which I have learned, which I have learned today. So from my according, I have learned a lots of any kinds of like so minor things from my all day long. Very well. You know, when I will try to say as like that of my learnable things. So I have learned only one. I have learned only one thing. Like we should try to believe on ourselves. We should try to believe on our process. We should try to believe on our ability, and we should try to feel like so exalt with ourselves, with our all activities. Because when you will try to believe on yourself, when you will try to believe on your work, on your all goal, on your practice, so there would be no any kinds of darkness things would be come to you. There would be no any kinds of person would should in this we can say hurt you and making you disappointed when you will try to believe on yourself, when you will try to believe on your all activity. But before believing on persons, before believing on any kinds of persons, you have to believe on yourself. Before depending on any kinds of persons, you have to depend on yourself. I have learned, I have learned these kinds of things from my all day long when I will try to say as like that. And I have learned only the second things, like we shouldn't try to care on any persons, on any kinds of persons, beauteous things, on any types of persons. We shouldn't try to care, and we shouldn't try to get like so evil eye of any types of persons, like so speak ill of any types of person. We shouldn't try to do these kinds of things. We should always try to look with the way of clarity and with the way positively towards the any types of persons when I will try to say as like that, because it would be so reasonable things for you when you will try to make your brain, when you will try to make your mind like so sharp, like so clean, like so tidy, when I will try to say as like that, when you will try to think like so positive towards your goal, towards your English, towards your motto, towards your life. So it would be so productive, it would be so imaginative, it would be so, and this we can say positive, positive things for you when you will try to surround yourself with the positive thought, with the positive activism, with the positive activity, when I will try to say as like that. So today it was a really my day when I will try to say as like that. And in this day I have learned so many things, like try to believe on yourself, and you don't have to care on a person's beauteous things, on you don't have to care on a person's especially, and you have to care only on yourself, and you have to believe on yourself. And when I will try to say as like that, really I believe on myself, really I believe on myself, I believe on myself, and I believe on my English, I believe on my English, and I believe on my practice, I believe on my practice, that I can speak English with confidence, I can speak English with confidence, I can speak English with confidence, and I will speak English with confidence. I can make myself like so knowledgeable student, and I will make myself like so knowledgeable student, because really it's my greatest and positive thought about my process, about myself, which I have told you until a few minutes ago. So now I want to terminate, and I want to wrap up my all sessions of to wrap up my any kinds of activity which I was trying to doing in front of you from the long time. So that's all my area. Please try to take care of yourself, and you can do best, you will do best in your life, in your field, in your life, in your field, in your especially in English. You can do best in your field, in your life, in the society, in this world, and you will do best, you can do best.